Sir, I think the best start would be with your few words of wisdom. Just for a minute, if you could say something about IMS and what we are up to, so that it's a welcome note. So I'll request you only to say a few words first.
Thank you, Sunayana ji. I think Alok sir has joined.
Oh, yes, yes.
Our director sir has joined, Sharad ji. So I would request, sir, can you hear us?
I think there's some audio issue at his end.
Sir, can you hear me?
I think he is on mute.
Sir, please unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for putting up so much effort that from while coming on way. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, ये थोड़ा सा typical difficult time होता है सुबह के time, and I thank Mr. Sharad Agarwal for, again, it must be almost like
Night.
close to midnight
Yes, sir.
at his country.
No issues.
Mr. Agarwal, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
क्या हाल है बताइए? So
I'm good.
So all well. So let's start, Sunayana ji. Let's begin.
Yeah, sir, good morning, all of you. So before we start, before we welcome Mr. Sarath from USA, so I would request our Director, Sir, Honorable Director Professor Alok Pandey, to say a few words to welcome Mr. Sarath and to say the inaugural address to bless us, to bless the students. So over to you for a few words.
Thank you, Tapan ji. In fact, it's a pleasure welcoming Mr. Sharad Agarwal, who is Senior Manager Quality and Reliability Engineering at Capgemini at Las Vegas, Nevada area, USA, and he'll be talking on business process reengineering need of the hour in the COVID scenario. So I feel that as we go ahead looking into, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yeah, I think, these webinars, Sharad, we've been organizing regular webinar post lockdown. I think we last two, in fact, from 20th March onwards, we started online teaching at our institute. We had our online exams, and I think first week of April onwards till date, we have organized like 40 webinars on different issues.
Right.
And we've done close to 10 or 12 major faculty development program where around 1,000 teachers of this country have been trained using experts from India, but also around the world. In fact, one such program on case study learning and teaching is due in October, 12th to 16th October. There are two more programs in the pipeline. So I think this particular methodology has found a wonderful use in institution like ours, because even when there is no COVID, traveling worldwide is very difficult.
Exactly.
Prior to COVID, it was so difficult to invite people even on Skype because it was too difficult.
Absolutely.
Now with Cisco, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and Zoom, especially Zoom, which is fairly easy. Like, for example, yesterday I was supposed to speak at Jamia Hamdard University's orientation program. They've got their MBA, and it's an institution of eminence. So I did my lecture on Zoom and sent it to them, which they'll be playing to their students. So something, in last 6 months, direction towards a new world. And probably this new world, which will be hybrid in nature, where we will overcome some of the problems of the pre-COVID era as well, would transfer to manufacturing and agricultural systems also. Now, since you work with a large technology company, you understand the fact that when we talk about transferring any particular methodology or any particular system to manufacturing sector or agriculture sector, it's actually very, very difficult.
Right.
In services sector, bringing about a change and implementing change, it takes merely 6 months to 1 year. But in manufacturing, say for example, if you say business process reengineering, which you're going to talk about, reinventing, and if you start, like today, I'll tell you one of the big news today. I don't know whether you've heard about Ashok. Ashok started a new company called Happens after entry. Yesterday, his IPO has been oversubscribed in India by 150 times. And
Which
what
company
they
you
teach in Ashok Soota of Mindtree. He was earlier
Okay.
with Wipro, Vice President. His company, Happiest Mind, its IPO yesterday was oversubscribed in India by 150 times. And what companies, whether Mindtree or to create is new kind of companies through a new type of a consultancy mechanism. So I believe that our students, when they listen to you, they learn some ideas on business process reengineering. I see services sector much like, for example, it does much longer government to amalgamate the banks. And now remember, the public sector banks have been amalgamated. We've got only 9 or 10 banks left in India in public sector. But if you try to convert 5 manufacturing companies into a group, it is a major problem. Why? Because each company has a different manufacturing ethics. You can't really, you can only do some kind of a technology interchange slowly, and you cannot teach people technology so easily. So when it comes to manufacturing or other major agricultural businesses, like in India, even today agricultural businesses are run the way they were run 70 years ago. 70%, 60% of the farmers are small and marginal farmers. They do farming in the same way they were doing in 1930s, 40s, and 50s.
Yep.
Very few farmers have access to the latest in technology for farming, latest in pesticides. Very few have access to logistical systems to sell their crops. Very few have access to e-commerce systems. So I think, somewhere down the line, business process reengineering is a wonderful idea. I thank Dr. Sunayana Jain to have thought of you to have to discuss this with the students, and I hope you will gel with the students. And please don't mind my leaving, because 10 o'clock I have another program scheduled. Right?
No
So
problem.
welcome once again, and I hope this idea called business process reengineering would go down well with the students, and they will start realizing how difficult this idea, which looks very simple in theory, is business process reengineering. Right?
Yep.
Thank you very much, and I hope that you'll enjoy being with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, sir. I am really overwhelmed that you've taken out time while driving also. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sunayana ji. I think
Yes.
you should
So I'll just,
introduce
yes,
the guest, and then we can
absolutely,
start
sir.
the session. Yeah.
Okay. So before I request Sharad to start with his session, let me give his brief introduction to all of you. Mr. Sharad Agarwal is Senior Manager at Capgemini. In his role, Sharad leads the hospitality sector of digital assurance and reliability engineering for Capgemini North America. He is also responsible for managing client engagements for an American global hospitality and entertainment company operating destination resorts in Las Vegas, Detroit, Mississippi, Maryland, and New Jersey. Previously, Sharad Agarwal has worked with companies such as JK Group, Publicis, and Toluna Incorporation, where he helped global retail, media, and market research clients in their digital transformation journey. He possesses significant experience with cultural change, customer obsession, recruitment of new talent, and business process reengineering. Mr. Sharad holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics and physics from Kanpur University and a master's in computer science from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, other than various international and national certifications to his credits. Right now, Mr. Sharad is living in Las Vegas with his family Neha and 2 young children. Thank you so much, Sharad, for giving your time. And now we request you to please proceed. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for inviting me and giving me opportunity to talk to, young minds.
Yes.
Okay. Let me start with, let me share my screen so that, I can share at least a few slides, which I think this is disabled, so I probably cannot share.
So, yeah, with your due permission, sir.
No, it's allowed already.
Okay.
Please try again.
Yep.
Hope it's there. You found it.
Please let me know if you guys can see my screen.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I hope.
Yeah, It's coming. Yeah, it's visible to all of you.
All right.
Yes, yes, we can see that.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are staying safe. And I don't think, I need to introduce myself anymore because Sunayana Jain ma'am has already, given my introduction in detail. So yeah, I'm Sharad Agarwal. I'm having over 15 years of corporate experience in top IT consulting companies. And today I'm here to discuss about business process reengineering. So let's start with one quote which I really like. There's a no alternative to digital transformation. Visionary companies will carve out new strategic option for themselves, and they will fail if they don't adapt. And that was given by a great mind, Jeff Bezos. He's a founder of Amazon. Okay, now let me talk about this business process. So you see, there's a lot of talk about business process. And why are we so? I mean, why are we so concerned with business process? What is the deal with business process, and why do they get so much focus? I got to tell you, a business process is the DNA of any company. I'm just giving you a high level, background. What is the business process, and what is so it's a right? It's what separates you from the herd. It is what differentiate from your business competition. So business process, make you either more effective, more efficient, or if it is not, implemented well, it is going to drag you down and make you slow. We like to look at business process for a couple of good reasons. One is like we always wanted to look if they do they really add to the bottom line? Are they helping us adding the more profit, or are they really make us more effective, more competitive, more efficient, or we are just doing it because we have always done this way? Another reason is we always want to look at business process because we want to look at misspent accuracy, how much we are spending, are we spending correctly, are we not spending correctly? So these all the things we always look, when we look at the business processes. We'll talk in we'll talk in detail, but you see there's a big difference when we do the business process as part of a $1 billion company versus a small organization, or a small boutique shop you open, right? So there's a big difference in both the cases. While each company is different in their own way, each has their own kind of DNA. There are some things that resonates across all different vertical business boundaries, and we are trying to bring those in. So let me give you a couple of things which are you will always see. So one is like the manual process. People are doing a lot of things manually, right? They really shouldn't have to, either because they are moving information between from one system to another system, but they are doing it manually, and those information are still in pipe. Another reason is a duplicative process. You will see a lot of people that are managing the same information in a different systems, and that's because they have a multiple system storing the same information, or they have a different manager, they want to keep it differently, and finally, like I said, it's my favorite, like we have always done it that way. So you see in a lot of organization which I have worked, I have noticed that when we go and do some sort of analysis of their business processes, and when we talk, okay, why you guys are doing this way, why you don't automate, why you don't reduce redundancy? So they say we have done this way, or all the time, like 30 years, 20 years. These are straightforward, simple excuse for all those people who work there. Now let's talk about business process reengineering. So there are few steps, I would say there are 6 key steps of business process reengineering. First step is you have to define your business process. Here you have to map your current state. So when you go there, in any organization, when you go and you have to implement the business, they call it, okay, come and implement the business process reengineering. So what you need to do, first you go there and define their business process. What is their current state? Like what work activities they do, what are their workflows, what are their roles and reporting structure, and their relationship, and what technology they are currently using. So all those things are part of you define their business process, and first you define, then you have to analyze their business process. Now you need to identify gaps, root causes, strategic in the context of improving organizational effectiveness. operational efficiency, and in achieving organizational strategic objectives. Once you analyze, so you have defined and then you have analyzed, and then you have to identify and analyze improvement opportunities. And here you need to identify, okay, what are the improvement opportunities versus what are the basically the core BPR opportunities. So those you need to identify, you need to address those gaps as well. So you first identify, analyze, validate opportunities to address the gap, and root cause identify during analysis. And then once you do all this, then you have to define your or design your future state process. So now you have first step was the define, and then analyze, then identify, and the next step is the design your future state process. In this step, you have to select the improvement opportunities identified previously. So in the previous step, you identified the improvement opportunities. And then you also have to identify which have most impact on organizational effectiveness, their operational efficiency, and that will achieve organizational strategic objectives. Make sure, when we select the opportunities that has the organization has the, to implement those opportunities. Organization should have budget, time, talent, and so on, because, you identified the opportunities, but there is no budget. What will you do? You cannot implement the idea, you cannot change, you cannot transform anything without having a budget, without having a time, without having talent. So all these things are very, key things. Otherwise, you can't succeed. Once you are done all this, next step is you have to develop future state changes. And I can tell you, this is the step which gets frequently overlooked. And this is the key root cause I've seen in, when business process reengineering initiatives getting failed. Because when you because before implementation, you need to operationalize those changes. So that is, and you also have to define your future state changes. So develop. So once you develop, you have to implement. But before implementation, you have to operationalize. And once you operationalize those changes, the next step is to implement future state changes. And here you have to follow the classic implementation. Based on the dependencies among changes or opportunities, all those things. Let's talk about a little bit about this business process improvement. So, when we talk about business process improvement, the key point I want to make here is the distinction between business as usual improvement opportunities and a strategic improvement opportunities. And, so you will always find few things which are, people are doing manually, you can automate. This is like your business improvement opportunities. These, when you change the complete process, in business process reengineering, mindset is very important. So, first, any organization, they need to acknowledge the current process, what they are doing is not working. Until and unless they acknowledge, they cannot implement any new changes, any transformation. So here, when, so business as usual improvement opportunities are those opportunities that improve your business process, but do not fundamentally change your current processes. These are the things we do typically in incremental changes to improve operational efficiency and lean the process. For example, reduce waste, errors, we need to reduce, or the cycle time, and so on. Business process improvement is also a continual, process. It's not like one-time process. So, their aim is at attaining efficiency through continual improvement by reiterating the process. Business process improvement is the way you improve your current as-is state, problems and issues. For example, you look for your future demand. You are not getting a lot of future demand. There are a lot of waste. You need to eliminate them, right? So you got to your to-be state. And just to be clear, I'm not undermining the importance of business as usual opportunities. Business as usual opportunities are ongoing and have significant impact at the bottom line. But they do not move the needle with respect to when, enabling an organization to achieve a strategic objective. So always keep in mind, when we are talking about the re-engineering or the transformation, always think about the strategic objective. So, process improvement is one thing. That's a continual process we have to do. All organizations, does. But strategic objectives are something, as a, BPR consultant, or, whatever the role you are playing, you have to always think about the strategic objectives. And it's my experience that in business process reengineering initiative, we identify more high value transformational opportunities for improving business process. And that is in addition to business as usual opportunities. So when you do analysis, you find both kind of opportunities. Some of the opportunities are like you need to, business process improvement opportunities. And then there will be a lot of opportunities where you think that, we can re-engineer those things. And for those, an organization should have time, budget, and resources to implement in the short run, because these are not continuous process. It's a project base. So I mean, the question is, how do we shortlist? Now we have identified a lot of opportunities. How do we shortlist a group of high value transformation opportunities? I mean, an essential part of shortlisting is to identify which opportunities move the needle the most toward enabling an organization to achieve strategic objectives. And I mean, BPR opportunities are like, clearly tied to the strategic objectives. It's not like continuous objective, and they are, untied all the time until, you go and, run those as a project. And, therefore, so otherwise what will happen in the organization itself, you find some opportunities, and then, there is a leader come and say, no, we don't want to implement this. So there is a political shortlisting also happens for these kind of opportunities. So first, make sure you have a blessing from the management to implement those opportunities. It is not like, so some people think that, okay, I have identified opportunities and we are good. It's not like this. You need backing to implement those opportunities, because it requires budget, time, and, manpower, everything. So we have already, covered a lot of things. Let me quickly go through what is the difference between, this BPI versus BPR. So as I said, BPI, this improvement opportunities are the ongoing effort you always need to do. Wherein, the re-engineering, it's a project-based effort. So you find an strategic opportunities, then you define, okay, how much money is required, how many resources, what is the duration, and then you run as a project. Then only it will be successful. In improvement, you see the improvement of existing process. You don't change the process completely. You try to find small changes. Okay, if I'm doing this manually, let me automate this. It will help little bit. So you don't change, but it is the improvement of the existing process. Wherein the re-engineering, as I said, first acknowledge that the current process is not working at all. Until unless you do not acknowledge that thing, you will not be able to implement any new idea. So once you acknowledge, okay, we will continue the way it is working for time being, but we are going to implement the new strategy, a new process, and that is from the scratch. So you go to whiteboard, define your process. Okay, and earlier we were doing something like this. I will give you some example, later, which we have implemented actually. And limited, and the next point is like limited organizational changes. So you do not need to make a lot of changes at the organization level. Wherein, in business process re-engineering, you need to make a big organizational changes. You probably need to bring some talent from outside. You cannot rely all the existing talent. You need some people who should come from outside and disrupt your system. So that kind of organizational changes are required, and all those organizations who want to implement this re-engineering, they should be open for those ideas and for those things. And then requires an incremental change in mindset, like okay, earlier we were doing like this, now we have added little improvement, and so it's a gradual process. Versus, again, as I said, in re-engineering, disruption. Somebody will come from outside and say, guys, whatever you guys are doing, it's not working. Let's fix this completely. Don't try to fix. Let's build from scratch actually. So in these days, you'll see a lot of people in the companies. A lot of people come from outside. They come, and they disrupt the whole organization, and they bring with their own teams and implement those ideas, and then they leave. So I have met many leaders. They come for come to an organization for 1 to 2 years, and they disrupt everything. They change everything. They change the working style, the culture, and everything. And then they go, and then they go and implement somewhere else. So now let's talk about digital transformation. So digital transformation, it starts with identifying the top business needs, then adopting processes and technologies, tools that address those needs, and lastly, fostering an organizational culture that can rapidly adapt to technological disruption. And three things which are very important when we talk about the transformation: people, process, and tools. You need to, all these things, when they come together, they solve the critical business problem. If you do not have people, you do not have process, and you do not have tool, you will not be able to solve any problem. Digital transformation utilizes a business process reengineering concept of radical transformation. So the relation is like, so BPR is there, and what digital transformation does, it utilize their concept, and concept of radical transformation, where separating rules based work from knowledge and judgment based work. So it basically separates both the things. One is traditional way of, people always do, like, okay, these are the steps, these are the rules, and rule based work, it separates both. And business process reengineering also helps organization figure out exactly what part of their workflow required attention. And then what you do, once you identify, okay, this is the area where we are lacking, then you transform digitally. And that is, basically allowing leaders to improve in on areas where technology can bring the most value. So let's talk about this BPR, or the digital transformation through the lens of COVID. So, for businesses, one consequence of the COVID-19 crisis has been a dramatic uptick in the use of digital technologies that help reduce face-to-face interaction. So you see this social distancing, right? Everyone, so all the businesses were closed because of this pandemic, and then they all are reopening, but customers are not coming. Why? They are scared. They are thinking that, this pandemic can affect them, they can be infected and all. So now the new term which is, in the market is like, everyone is searching. So I have given one stat in my slide, that in last 6 months or 8 months, I would say, in 2020, this contactless is the word which was searched on, all the search engine more than, 10 times this year. What they were searching, people were searching this word previously. So all those technologies, if you see, so these digital technologies also include customer facing application, such as your Amazon.com, B2B e-commerce application, and then this Zoom. Zoom is another example. You see, right? These all are, because of this COVID impact, the adoption was ready. When sir was talking, he was saying that, earlier, when we were trying to do this kind of session and all, it was very difficult. Now, all these things are very, easy, because the adoption, because this pandemic pushed everyone to adopt these technologies, rapidly, and that is happening all over. And because of that, you see the stock prices of these companies are, also skyrocketed. Now let me talk about, the digital transformation we did, for one of our client. So MGM Resorts International.
Discuss karo.
Sorry.
No, Sharad, you may please continue. I'll
right.
request all the students to please mute themselves. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let's move on. Yeah. So so MGM Resorts International. I don't know. You guys must have heard about this client or not. So it is one of the big hospitality client in Las Vegas location. They have over 20 resorts and hotels where people come for pleasure. They come, they play games. When I'm saying games, it's like casinos. They so all people were coming, and traditionally people were coming, and they were Vegas is famous for their experience, the Vegas experience they call it. So whatever was happening in Vegas, people were enjoying, even though it was little painful. In terms of like so each property in Vegas is like having it's a different. So if you go to somewhere else before pandemic, sorry, I'm talking about, you go to any hotel like Hyatt or anywhere, you book the room and you went for a check-in. you will hardly find, on check-in 5-6 people ahead of you, and then you do check-in and you go to your room. But what was happening in Vegas, like, each property is having close to, 4,000 to 5,000 rooms. So when each property is for 5,000 rooms, check-in time is standard, like it's a 3 p.m. So 11 a.m. is your checkout time, 3 p.m. is your check-in time. So 1 to 4 p.m. is the peak time, and lot of people were standing in queues. And when I'm saying lot of people, it's thousands of people. And when and then all in sudden this pandemic happened, and all properties were forced to close due to this pandemic, right? And then the biggest challenges we were facing during reopening. So we reopened properties one after the other, started from July 4th, I believe. Yeah, July 4th was the US independence. So we were, a governor allowed us to reopen your properties, and then we restarted, we reopened some of the properties. And the biggest challenges we had to face during reopening was how to ensure social distancing when thousands of guests were doing room check-in. How you can do that? Every day, thousands of people are coming for room check-in, and we also need to maintain social distancing. And as I said, MGM Resorts has having over 20 properties in Las Vegas location itself. Forget about the other places. And as I said, the standard check-in time is 3 p.m. So you are seeing huge queues every day between 1 to 4 p.m. And having said that, there are hundreds of front desk agents helping these people in each of the properties. But that's not enough, because of this COVID, as people need to maintain social distancing. The plan was to reduce those long queues, but at the same time, guests should be able to do their stuff, like their experience should be the seamless experience. They should be able to check in their rooms without hassle, right? So in hospitality, I mean, customer experience is everything. If guest is happy, then you will get the business, otherwise you will not get the business. So to improve this at MGM, what we did, we transformed the existing check-in process, the completely transform. And that transformation and the technology, like, and again, I'll quote the sir, because he mentioned that some of the technologies were already there, but adoption was very slow. So when we were talking about the, the transformation of the existing check-in process, I'm not saying we brought the new, something like, we invented. It was always there. So a lot of the stuff aviation companies were already doing, pre-check-in, and then, you can, print your boarding passes, and all those things were already there. Hotels were adopting very slowly. So because of COVID, we were also, the president of MGM Resorts told to all ITs, our departments, and said that, we need to expedite this. And to expedite this, we need to basically transform everything from that. So the earlier people were coming, they were booking. So initial transformation, when we started in like 2014, we were, transform our booking website. So, and like 10 years back, people were not able to, book the rooms. And even they booked the room, their payment was not, they were not unable to, complete the payment through, website. So this is also a gradual process, but in a different sense. Here, what happened now, check-in process was people were coming in queue, and they were, the front-end agent were allowing them to, check in. What we did, we had a, so we built a mobile app for MGM. That was already there. So we added some features in that. So what we did, basically, we added feature in terms of pre-check-in. So what customer can do, they can book a room from mobile app. So, but for that, I mean, there are two kind of customer, in Vegas. One or most of the, hospitality sector, there are two. One is a loyal customer you call, who are, who enroll themselves in your loyalty program. And then the other, we call it a transient customers or transient guest. Those are like, one-time visitors kind of, and Vegas is a place people, come once in a lifetime. It's a kind of place. So you will get a lot of people like the transient guest as well. So when, we, so this mobile app is more for the people who are the loyal customer, because it requires your login, and, people will download app only if they come frequently. And there are a lot of people like this, for a lot of people come from California, Arizona, and the places. They come like every other month, so they download the app. So what we did for them, so we built that feature to allow room check-in before even landing to Vegas. So once you book the room, you can, sitting at home, you can do a pre-check-in. Once you do the, we are sending a notification 24 hours before to the check-in time that, okay, you go ahead and do the pre-check-in. And then whenever their room is ready, so there's a process. So as I said, 11 a.m. is the checkout time, 3 p.m. is your check-in time. In between, there is a operation staff who goes and, clean everything in the room. And then in the system, they need to mark, there are multiple, clean, there's a status inspection and everything. And once all the steps are done, then room is available for, reassignment. So what was happening? So we were sending the notification that, okay, go ahead and do your check-in 24 hours before, that we are calling pre-check-in. And once the room is available, we are assigning the room automatically. So no one need to do anything. You have already done pre-check-in, you are already, room is already assigned. And then whenever you are landing to Vegas, you already have, and before few hours before, your check-in time, you get the check-in. So your status changes from pre-check-in to checked in. That is another step. So once you checked in, room is assigned. Next step is to get the key. So earlier what was happening, you were getting the physical key to open the door. Now what we implemented, the digital key. So one room assignment is done. In the mobile app itself, you don't need to meet anyone. You are still sitting on couch, and you can get your digital key on mobile phone itself. You can download the key, and with this digital key, you can unlock your room during the stay time. So there is a logic we have implemented that what you can do. So they can basically unlock the room during the stay. So for example, someone has booked for 3 days room, so they can 2 nights, 3 days, whatever. So whenever they check out, the room key will disable automatically, and they cannot use for future purpose. And then in app we have also added the option. So after it happens, a lot of people who come for 2 nights and then they think, let's take a couple of days off and let's extend their stay. So that option was we have implemented, and you don't need to meet to front desk agent. You can still do from your mobile app. So everything contactless. That's what I'm saying. So this is the the complete re-engineering we did. So we did not improve the existing process. We changed the process. Earlier we were asking people to come and stand in queue and get the physical key and then check out physically. Don't do anything. Just download the mobile app, log in, and do all those things. You were getting everything. So that means they don't need to meet any staff, but still can enjoy the Vegas experience. And that's 100% contactless. But as I said, we have two kind of customers. Another customer is the transient customer. So not all guests will download mobile app, right? And especially if they are not a frequent visitors. And as I said, it's a good percentage. People come Vegas once in a lifetime. So there is a big percentage of the visitor who do not are, who are not frequent visitors or the loyal customers. So we also thought we need to handle that kind of situation. So what we can do in, what can we do in those situations? So to handle that kind of situation, we also developed another application and given the name Line Buster. As the name suggests, the purpose of this app was to bust the long queues. So the people who are standing in queues, the objective was to go and somehow bust those lines, do something different. So the app was what we did, we given this app and iPads basically to lot of our operation staff, hotel staff, and we given some training, okay, how it works. And once we given to them, and their core job was to go and reach out to people who are standing in queues and randomly find somebody, go and help them in check-in. So that is how we were busting the line, right? But another challenge was, we also need, when you do this kind of digital transformation or the re-engineering, you always think that there is a risk of security. Data breach is one risk, people failure. a lot of security risks. So whenever you transform anything, or especially digitally, you always consider those security risks, and somehow you need to manage those risks. So here what we did, we added authentication, the single sign-on. So all our employees were required to sign on first. Once they logged in, with their employee ID, and then they were asking customer to provide, okay, give me your booking number, which you got during the booking, and then also provide, show us your state ID that can be scanned from the app itself. And if the state ID is, valid, it will allow user to check in. So guest will receive an email, and he can, get the QR code basically. So QR code is nothing, a quick response code. Why we are giving the QR code? To generate the physical key. And now the point was, again, if someone has to stand in a queue to get the physical key, it will defeat the purpose. So what we did is basically, we also have one application called Key Encoder. And what we ask people to go and print your physical key yourself in self-service kiosk. So we kept a lot of kiosks, in lobby, and people were just, receiving emails, QR code, go and print your physical key, and you go to home. Not home, I mean, go to your room. And once your stay is over, you will receive another email for checkout. You can do checkout through email. And that is how you don't need to again meet a lot. I mean, you still met one person, but for a shorter period. But we are managing the risk of, the breaching this social distancing, or, meeting a lot of people. So somehow we need to do something like this. So this is one of the, recent, example which we did as part of our digital transformation we did here. I mean, I have spoken a lot. I mean, I know any questions so far, anything in some, I'm happy to answer.
So will you take the question in between, or do you have something left in presentation? Otherwise, I can request students to place questions before you.
I mean, I can give you more examples for digital transformation like Microsoft did.
Wonderful. If you can do that, because see, this is where they are learning. Then I can request them because I think this was a wonderful example which you quoted. I think we can't find in books. So this is something so practical you have talked about. Even I learned a lot, so I can understand the kind of experience the students must be going through. So if one more experience or such example of Microsoft, if you could share, it would be really great.
Sure. Yep. So for example, so I mean, I don't know how much you guys are aware of the how companies are doing, but if you see like 2-3 years back, Microsoft was struggling, like around 2013, 14, and 15.
Sorry to bother in between, Sharad. I'll request students that you can put forward your question in chat, and I'll read on behalf of you in the meanwhile, while Mr. Sharad is taking up this example. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Sharad.
Yeah, so I mean, so we all know Microsoft. It's a long known for its innovative Windows or Office top products. But Microsoft also saw lot of competition from Apple, Amazon, and the other companies like Google and all, and its stock price was going down. Then company decided, and this is not specifically related to this COVID, but I'm just giving you example of digital transformation, how it works. So then Microsoft decided to rethink its strategy, and its situation was what they were thinking, like what they can do. Can they add improve their existing product lineup, what they were having, or do they do something differently, like completely re-engineering or completely digital transformation? So the solution they found, like to create a cloud network system. They call it a Microsoft Azure business. And that time itself, this AWS, the Amazon AWS was already captured a lot of market, and there was few other players as well. But Microsoft started that sometime in 2014, and it was more of a forward focus beginning in 2014. And it moved its focus from away from its traditional software to a cloud system that's more fluid, both for personal as well as enterprise use. And then Microsoft also began to work with other technology and software companies to create lucrative partnership. And you see in 2018 and in 2019, after 4-5 years, still Amazon AWS is still, so when they started, AWS was like 90% market share. Now in 2019, Microsoft is already captured 30%, and Amazon is like close to 60%. And Microsoft is growing this Azure, the cloud, it's growing very rapidly and very fast. So looks like, in next couple of years with this pace, they probably, reach the place where like 50% AWS. And then now I'm seeing another, like Google is also trying to, make some space in that area. So companies think this way, like, they can improve, but improvement is like, they will not change a lot in overall, they will add some revenue, they will, add some improvement, but transformation is something which completely, change the scenario, the marketplace completely. Similarly, Nike is another example. So Nike also, we all know that, it's a top athletic shoe and clothing company, right? They also were, felt that they were starting to become, sluggish and outdated. So Nike's leadership also, they did not hesitate. They thought, okay, let's spend in digital transformation. Let's change the company's mindset, company, supply chain and brand. And they were able to, better connect with its customer base. Company was focused on more powerful data analytics. So digital transformation is just not the digital transformation. It also gives you a lot of data, which you can analyze. So a lot of other initiative which we are working is like we are building for, one of the client, the customer 365, where, so all the customer behavior, what customer, when customer comes, starting from his home, when he books a room, or, okay, what kind of room he is booking last time. And then, I'm just giving you some example of transformation, like when customer comes, so what we are doing, okay, when he is going to a restaurant, we already know that last time he has given the champagne, this, order of this champagne. So this time we are giving, the moment he is sitting on his table, he is receiving a notification of, in mobile, and that, we are giving you 30% discount, on this champagne. We know that he likes it. And then pay at the table. So a lot of transformation opportunities are always there, which we are trying to build. And another example I can give for Disney. So earlier people were, buying the tickets, and, Disney has a multiple parks where you can hop in, hop out, and all those things. So you need to purchase ticket for all parks and all. We implemented for Disney band. So one band was, storing all the customer information. So now customer can book a Disney hotels in the Disney, world, and then they can get all the, rooms, not rooms, or they can get in all the parks, as well as when they are sitting in a table in a park in somewhere, you ordered in in one place, and then you are sitting, and it automatic, there is a RFID, associated with this. And then you are, someone is coming and delivering the order on your place, wherever you are sitting. So no, so a lot of transformation opportunities are there, and we have implemented, and there is, which I think we can also implement.
So, Sharad, we have found one question coming up. In fact, there are two. So I'll take up the first question. First of all, there are a lot of thanks coming in. And first question is from Avni. She's asking, so can you please elaborate a little about how Nike has done the digital transformation, if possible?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what Nike did, so earlier they were selling through, they had few, what I would say, their e-commerce strategy was very weak. So what they were selling through malls. You are seeing a lot of shops in malls, or some, the stores, basically Nike stores. But what digital transformation did, they spent a lot of money, building their new website where people can go, they can choose. Basically, they have of all inventory in there itself. So, and then they can also, through digital transformation, you can do one more thing, like what Nike also did. You can run a lot of promotions,
Right.
Online. So those promotion, when you go to their website, they tell you, okay, if you subscribe today, we'll give you 20%, 25% discount today on this purchase. And then you become their loyal customer. They get your information. They keep sending you offers and all. And what happens, you see, most of the time you receive email from these, from Nike, or, from anywhere. There's a very catchy subject of the email, like, 30% discount, 40% discount. And you won't believe we track everything. So how many people receive those kind of offers on emails, how many people are clicking on those emails, how many people are actually converting the sale. Basically they are purchasing, and if you are just clicking to their website, at which step you have left. So we analyze, and based on that we come up with new strategies.
So if I'm right, Sharad, this is part of business intelligence only, because I have been quoting quite a many times. The information which you people store, basically this is to give a lot of forecasting of where actually people are interested. That means the customers are
Right.
more oriented to.
Exactly. The business intelligence is the correct word for that. Right.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Another question I'll take up. So that's from Pavan. He's saying, "Good morning, sir. Thanks for the wonderful session. I would like to ask that how the team implementing contactless service for MGM Resort in Las Vegas managed to analyze FMEA before implementing the digital transformation of business process reengineering." So shall I repeat? Yeah, please. I'll do that. He's saying how the team implementing contactless service for MGM Resort in Las Vegas managed to analyze FMEA before implementing the digital transformation, or simply saying business process reengineering. So how first FMEA happened, that means analysis part, how did that analysis took place before you actually implemented the solution? So what all stages have you gone through during the analysis stage? Yes.
Got it. Yeah. So the point is, like, even before implementing this, all the digital transformation, when customers were coming to the hotels, they were providing their information, right? We were storing all this information. And then, if people were booking, through their websites, and there was some failure, at a certain stage, there are tools which store that information. Okay, what failures, why people are unable to book that room, at which step they were facing the issue. That kind of information we were collecting, and using that information we were basically, as what we were doing is we collecting all this information and then using that information to define our strategy, how we can basically. So for example, some of the transformation are not related to FMEA. I'm just, some of the transformation came from the COVID, right? COVID has pushed us for this, adoption of, transform. FMEA is more like, business process improvement, not for a transformation, I would say.
Right, because it's a failure mode.
Exactly. You get the failure mode, you analyze that failure, you improve those things.
Right.
Transformation, that's what, when I was talking about the transformation, we were talking about that, first acknowledge that current process is not working. Absolutely. At all. We need to change the process. We don't need to fix the process. And that is the difference. So when we implemented transformation, we completely, abolished the current implementation, and we thought, let's implement the new way of doing things.
Right. In a sense, we can say that it was not so-called a stopgap arrangement. In fact, it was completely changing the way now the customer would be experiencing when they want to come to Las Vegas and book their rooms.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Okay. Another question we have is from Sushil Meena. He's saying, how can logistics stakeholders incentivize faster implementation of shared warehouse and transportation capacity to reap obviously significant societal and customer benefits as well? That means how can this transformation takes place through this sharing model in logistics sector, if you can highlight something on that?
So we are going to, there is a WMS called warehouse management system. So there in the market, it's a software solution, and there are a lot of companies who are already providing that solution. SAP is one of the companies that provides WMS. Oracle is also providing that solution. So what they do, so for logistics purpose also, and in the software itself, they provide a lot of transformation in terms of, like, you can purchase the product, you can order at some place, you can get your product delivered whichever place you want. And I can quote one example of HP actually on this. So earlier, what was in HP, what was happening, each department was ordering, all the logistics their own, and they were negotiating on, their own. Then what they did, they centralized the negotiation. They centralized the negotiation, and because the earlier, so there are two way of handling that problem was, let's centralize the whole logistic, things. So anyone you need to reach out to that department, but that will, when you implement that, it will lose the independence of the each individual department, and a lot of pushback happens. So what they did, they just, centralized the negotiation part. So now all negotiation were happening through the central department, but each department can order as per their need. So that is one of the re-engineering they did.
Perfect. So next question we have from Abhishek Srivastava. Good morning, sir. Isn't it difficult considering this pandemic to change the business process re-engineering of the company if it wants to? That means in this current situation, don't you find practically this is a little more difficult to work on business process re-engineering? What is your call on this?
Actually, I found completely, opposite of this. So during this pandemic, now this is the real opportunity, and that people have time, resources, and I would say, the money is also available to a lot of companies, right? So because a lot of businesses earlier, what was happening when you transform anything, it disrupt. You will receive a lot of pushback from the business that don't change. That is the standard, right? Don't change now. They'll say, it will, let's continue the way it is working. But since the business were closed, lot of transformation can be done because of, all the resources were available, everything were available, and this was the need of the hour as well. I mean, because before pandemic, you were the way you were doing business, and now in this, the new normal is, is completely different. It is not allowing you to do the business the way you were working earlier or doing earlier.
Right. So that means in any other way also you're left with no choice but to opt for this new mechanism.
Exactly. I mean.
Right. Okay. So another question I think we are having, I'll take this last question. Okay. So how much do you currently send, I think, oh, you want to write spend on human resource to complete administrative workflow functions that can be re-engineered because there is a loss of jobs too, and how much more might you'll be able to do at lower cost with automation?
So two part, I mean,
Yes.
one thing is transformation, second thing is job losses.
Yes.
I mean, people always say that, any automation or any transformation bring job losses, but if you see the data, that's not true. New transformation or new technology always, add new jobs. It might happen that the people who were doing earlier some jobs manually, they are not relevant, but that doesn't mean the new jobs are not getting added. So any changes to the industry, any new technology comes, so for example, earlier people were doing a lot of things manually. New machine came into the market. So when new machine develop, every year you see a lot of maintenance work is required, a lot of new versioning is required, and then a lot of improve. So probably I don't need the same skill set, but I still need a human resource. So job loss not happen. It is not like job is people are losing the jobs. Maybe it always add job, but yeah, I mean, if people need to scale their skills basically.
Reskilling is required with running time. Reskilling is required. So Sharad, can we take one more question? I think people found your session quite interesting and there are a lot of questions coming in. So we have question from Kishita. I think let me go through 2-3 questions and you can give us summary of the answer, right? So we have question from Kishita. She's saying, good morning, sir. Thank you for sharing your wonderful experience with us. So could you please tell us from a business point of view, what would be the most important aspect which will trigger a BPR project? This is one thing. So one thing is how do you trigger to a BPR project? So another question we have from Manvi. She says, good morning, sir. As we knew, digital technologies are creating new profit tools by transforming customer expectations. But I just want to know how companies can address them. These are the two questions we are left with.
Can you come back second question, please?
She's saying, as we know that digital technologies are creating new profit pools by transforming customer expectations. But she wished to know that how companies can address this. That means people have a lot of expectation, customers have a lot of expectations from this transformation, but how can the companies address to these new changes which are expected from the customers due to digital technologies coming up?
So, I mean, if I understood correctly, the question is more like, if people are doing this digital transformation, what is the impact on the companies, or how they
Yes,
are
yes, yes.
adopting?
How they should adopt it. Because customers are now more readily towards, if I talk about myself, let's say as a customer, I am more into transaction through digital commerce. Please.
See, both the question, the answer and second is, how and when companies should, adopt this. It's a market, especially in US, I can say the market is mostly a customer driven market.
Right.
Your customer decide what you need to, what you need to do basically. If customer needs, something digitally, one or the other company will do. You see a lot of new, organizations are coming with new ideas. Those ideas are coming from the customer itself, right? And when people adopt, and you see that people are happily adopting those ideas or new technologies, then the companies need they have no choice left but to change their strategy or the work they are doing previously. And that is also the answer for the other question, that what is the trigger point. So when you see your balance sheet is not doing good, that is, again, that means your customer is not happy, as I said, right? If customer
Right.
is not happy, you are not adding new customer, your existing customer are leaving you. That means you need to come back and think, you need to go back to whiteboard and see what changes you need to make. And because those things cannot be addressed through using BPI, you need to change completely. You need to add a do a digital transformation or the complete re-engineering. And that is the point, basically, that triggers BPR.
Right. So I think this brings us to the end of the session. Sir has again come in. So the session has been quite interesting, and I think students are already writing in, thanking notes. So with your due permission, shall I officially thank Sharad and close the session?
Yes, Dr. Sunayana, I think it was wonderful listening, Sarath. I was listening since last 1 hour. You can mark my presence also in your
Thank
attendance.
you.
I learned a lot. It was quite wonderful listening you, Sarath. You gave many examples on business process engineering, business process improvement. Okay, there are certain new terminology. I also got it. Okay, what can be the best example than this online education which you are doing these days? This is the best example I think is the business process
Exactly.
reengineering.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is the new normal which we all have adapted since the lockdown happened March 24, 2020. Since last 6 months, I think this is the best example I ever seen. I mean, our students are there; they might be facing many problems, but yes, these problems are the normal now. You have to live with them. Okay, and I think we should thank you, Saraji, for putting your time. I mean, at this time, people might have slept at your home, but I'm sure this is good morning here, and we wish you good night. Okay, so before we put good night, I would request Dr. Sunayana to formally put the good night note.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
So, thank you, sir. Officially saying thank you so much, Mr. Sharad Agarwal. So I'll start my thanks note first through my management, who has given me this opportunity to invite you as our guest speaker. And I think the decision has been quite wise. Uh, there was time when we have been teaching you, and it was really wonderful to learn from you this time. So you are sitting on the other side. So
The new
it
normal.
was, yeah, it's a new normal, a very, very wonderful experience. And I want to thank our director, Professor Alok Pandey. Frankly speaking, as you have been quoting quite many times about his, versatility and his knowledge on these topics. So he's the one who introduced this digital acceptance amongst all of us. And the man you can see right now here, Professor Tapan, He has been our guiding force again. He keeps on motivating us to do n number of things, whichever way and whenever we ask him, he's there to help us out. And I would, in fact, before thanking you, I want to thank my students who have been wonderful audience, who raised questions so, pertinent questions. So that shows how diligently they were listening to you and they were ready to learn new things from you. And last but not the least, I'm really thankful to you that out of your such busy time, as we were discussing yesterday also, so in the night you took out time for us, and hope to see you once you are in India also, to visit our campus and just give a talk to our students one to one. Digital is one side and physical interaction is altogether a different
Right.
experience. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, and all my faculty colleagues who have been also listening to us. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yep.
The
Sincere
IT
thanks to
staff.
you also, Dr. Sunayana, for arranging this session.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
thank you, Saradji. See you soon in campus. Okay.
Sure. Thank you, sir, and thanks, ma'am, for hosting me. And all students, you guys are really wonderful. Thank you. And excuse me if I could not answer your question properly. I'm not a faculty, so
No. You did it wonderfully. I'm telling you, it was very wonderful. Thank you so much. So with your due
Thank you.
permission, we'll just turn off
End
the
this
session.
session.
Yeah.